story.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for a very special interview. I'm super excited for this one today. I am talking to someone who, honestly, I've been very impressed with their career, both what they do on screen and just professionally. I think he's an amazing person. We did have a strike, so that did hinder possibilities in talking as of recently, but now that the strike has been resolved, thank you, and I'm glad that the actors and writers did strike and get the things that they deserve. We finally now have our opportunity to talk, and we're going to be talking about the new film Breakwater, which did make its premiere at Cinequest, so maybe some of you folks checked it out there, but if not, fear not, you get to check it out in theaters and on demand December 22nd. I present to you all Mr. Darren Mann. Darren, how you doing today?
Oh, man. So good to be here, man. I always appreciate your interviews. Or sorry, not your interviews. I haven't done an interview with you yet. I always appreciate your kind remarks that you always make about independent film. And you're always pushing the great indies and watching the great stories. So I'm thankful for people like you around pushing the stories I love to tell.
And I appreciate you too as well, man. I appreciate the words. I think as I try to provide a focus on independent films, it's good to see the good folks who's working on in the independence and putting out banger projects that folks should be talking about, and then folks who are really catching their career. And you have been somebody since in Battle, which was one of my favorite films. I think that was 2020, and then since then you just have taken off. So I've always had my eyes on whenever I see your name attached to something. I saw this one, I was like, oh, I absolutely have to check it out, and it definitely delivers. So before we actually talk about the film, once again, folks, please check out Breakwater in theaters on demand December 22nd. I have to ask you, because you also fight the same crusade, just on the opposite side of the fence here in terms of the focus on independent film making. Why is it important for folks to not only just appreciate, support, and even folks who have worked in these big budgets to come back to the independents and work in some of these smaller budgets and smaller sets? But for you, why is it important that we have a focus on independent films?
For me, it's just they've always been the stories that speak to me the most whenever I get a chance to read those scripts. They're not all flash and bang. There's budget restraints. So I find that often in the independent side, you see the best stories. And that's what I love. And that's what I want the people to see too, is, it's great to go to the theater, be entertained. There's a bunch of action. It's all that studio bang. But, the best stories are at that little local theater down the road that's playing the independent stuff where, everybody who showed up on that set, they were there for the right reasons, They're there because they love to act, or they love to grip or be a camera operator, whatever they're doing on that independent film. It's because they love it. And there's something so special about getting to work with inside of that environment with a bunch of other artists who are just wanting to tell great stories, make a living, and hope that the world gets to see those stories and ideally impact them in some way. If you know.
Yeah, I think the one word that always catches me is passion projects. And even hearing the remarks of somebody like Jesse Eisenberg, who just did the film Manodrome, he talked about like how he typically takes roles and people say like, well, this seems like a role for you. And it's cool to be able to come and do an independent film and really exercise your craft, do the things and test yourself in limits and in characters that you haven't been able to do so. And that's literally my draw. Is like you see a big name, you're just like, well, I know they can do this, but what did it look like in a role like that? And a lot of folks surprised. Nicolas Cage is one that lets folks know at any given time, saying, listen, if I need to come back, just to let y'all know, I can still do it. And you get films like Pig.
The last few years on some amazing independent films, which is great to see. Because I think there is a little bit of a, there's a revitalization down this road, which is awesome. I hope that it keeps catching on here post-strike.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give folks a little bit of your background here, one of your latest and hottest projects in 1923, Animal Kingdom is another one, and Battled is one of my favorite films of that year, as I mentioned, and then Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and then ultimately brings us now to Breakwater, which we will take a moment to talk about what you have coming up in the future before we end today. But yeah, let's talk about the film. And the first question I want to ask you is, have you ever been arrested? No, I'm just playing.
I have not.
What's so interesting about this film is things that I need to make sure that people know and put that respect on the film right now, is that there is no green screen in this film. And then when you have a producer of the likes of somebody like Matt Paul, who comes in and has this level of expertise, this grit. He's a former SEAL. So, you know, this guy's seen some things, done some things, and obviously has a heart for cinema, which I overly appreciate him for that. But when you talk about the bread and butter of this film, outside of the character work, you have to talk about the work within the water or the trenches. Should I say at this rate? I have got to ask you, my guy, talk me through the underwater scenes, the training that was needed, even your first initial reaction when you saw it in the script, and whether you had already had prior experience in something like this, or it was just like wait, is this an error, or is like, what's going on here? I need to know the reaction the moment you figured out that you were going to be doing some underwater things.
Great question, man. Well, as soon as I read it in the script, I thought, well, this is pretty badass. I wonder how we'll pull this off. What are the camera tricks to this one, you know? And I'll tell you, there aren't a lot of camera tricks. you're really just under there. And the tough part is, the hardest part for me was, you're wearing your clothes, your wardrobe, so you're soaking wet, heavy jeans on, and then you're fighting, so your blood oxygen level is like gone. And then you're in the pool and you don't even really, you get lost on where you are, and you're holding weights in your pockets to keep you sinking down level with the water. And we were super fortunate to have an amazing DP in Kai Kraus. Unreal guy, so talented. But we also had another gentleman, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. I apologize, but he came in specifically just to shoot the underwater stuff. Really neat getting to see him do his thing with his crew, and he had such great expertise at that, and just kind of giving us pointers and helping us out where we could, because we needed them. The hardest part, I'll tell you, is your eyes. Because you got to keep your eyes open for the telling story, right?
Yeah.
But we did it. We shot in two different spots too. One, it was chlorine, and that was really, really tough. And then we did salt water, which was a lot better, but after you still have that dried out effect, but all worth it for the good result that we got in that scene. It was so cool to do it. And I should also say, another thing when I think about that is, Dermot Mulroney. Damn, dude. Like, I hope that I have that cardiovascular he does at his age when I get there, because he was crushing it. He was keeping up with me, no problem, giving it every take. Such a cool guy, happy to be there. So I got real blessed with, awesome camera crew, amazing director in James Rowe. He was so kind to us, and so smart and methodical in all his decisions and his shots. You see it pay off when you watch the movie later. And then it really helped having Matt Paul on the sidelines, because ex-Navy SEAL, he was the one who showed me how to tie the knot for the crab trap.
Yeah.
We were just sitting there on the side of the pool. I didn't have a ton of prep time, and we were just about to go for that dive, and he's teaching me. I'm just going over and over it. And I kept getting called up. And I couldn't quite get the knot in time, because by the time I'd swim down to it, it would waste maybe 15 seconds. And they had a hard out for me at like 25. And we stopped, and I think we tried it 3 times. And they said, we got something, we can make this work. I was like, Matt, I promise you, I will not die on you. I need that alarm to shut off. Let me go do the thing. And if I need to bail, I will bail. I promise. And so they graciously let me go. And we got that knot down, came to the top, and I felt like, felt so great to get that done.
That's amazing, dude. It's honestly for anybody, and again, I'm just gonna make sure I encourage folks to check out the film. I was a little torn when I saw it in the trailer, and I was like, no, don't give away the goods. But it's a quick little hint of a spectacular third act of the film of everything that's happening. And to talk a little bit more about that, you brought up Dermot, just an iconic, legendary of a career this man's having, and then still is swinging for the fences with a fantastic performance with him in this. When you look at somebody with a career as his and yours as it's really ramping up, and you two are having magical scenes to get a lot of dialogue against one another. And I mean, you're standing toe to toe with him, literally and physically. What does that rub mean to you, and what has been some of the conversations that he's sort of provided for you and encouragement for your career?
You know, with Dermot specifically, I just really enjoyed watching his professionalism. You know, once we, it's like I often say to people, I was a hockey player at one time. I start thinking about if I got to meet Ovechkin or Crosby, my palms they start sweating. You know,
Yeah.
oh goddamn, because they really got to somewhere and achieved something that I tried so hard to do, but I couldn't quite do it. And
Yeah.
so now I find with acting, I see them as, I got here. I'm on the field with you. We're
Yep.
equals. We're both these artists going at it, respecting each other. But what I can really often gain from people like Dermot is just watching his professionalism, how he treats everybody, stays calm, stays in the zone, so kind, and at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like, we're all people, man. And we need every PA that's there, on point.
Yep.
Everybody's going to pull their weight to get a movie done, especially independent film, as you know, that it's just, comes from the heart. It's a lot of sweat hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just, I'll never forget as I said goodbye to Dermot on that last day on set, and he gave me a hug, and he was like, yeah, man, just, I'm paraphrasing him a bit here, but he said something about, just keep spreading that love on sets. And that's what he does so well. And
Yeah.
I so appreciated that, man, and I so enjoyed it. It made going to work with him fun. It made taking risks with him much easier,
Mm.
right? Especially when you're in a scene with a vet. It can be a little scary to take some risks, but you got to take big swings
Yeah.
to get one out of the park, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So he created such a comfortable environment for everybody, man, and just like a real down to earth good person. That's all you can ask for. So that's definitely what I take away from Dermot.
Amazing. Yeah, and again, as a supporter of you professionally and your career, it's no doubt that I think you can stand toe to toe with some of these folks in scene. I think, kind of looking through it through a critic lens, you look at some of these powerhouse actors and you say, oh, they're going to come through. They're going to wash everybody that they're on scene with, and it happens at times. But it was really good moments with you two. That you could just feel the energy bouncing off of one another, and whether you all were either uh on the same set or it's just because of the editing, it was just how things were because obviously the character is locked up, but still you can still feel that passion, and that's obviously a testament to all of the folks, the directors and producers and editors, and making that cohesiveness between the you two. But without a doubt he did a fantastic job, and so did you. And again, that's why I said, like, the film bread and butter is the character work, because you're engaged the entire time. And I mean, your character, which we will talk about one second, um, you you with the twist in the film, should I say? But you're so invested because you see the pureness, and you see, and when you talk about someone who's done time, you see just somebody who's looking to get back on the right foot in society, and what does that look like, and still wanting to do the good thing, even though the good thing may be questionable in others' eyes. Like, you see that level of empathy that we try to have in society, and we want to grow in society. But again, because of the character work, because of the acting, you're just engaged the entire time with it. I say that all that to say, for you, how much of this character, in terms of the decision making, his will to want to make a positive impact, and even so good to the fault. How much of the character would you say relates to who you are personally?
That's a great question. I would say that there's definitely parts of Dovey that I can relate to, where he just always wants to do the right thing. He
Yeah.
just and he wants people to feel good around him,
Yeah.
and I get that. One of my favorite things about working in the film industry is the especially now that I'm getting larger roles and higher on the call sheet, is it's pretty cool to have this influence on all these people that work with you's lives, because you're worth each other, 12 to 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
um, and if you can treat people just nicely and help them have a great day, help them have a smile here and there, let loose, remember that we're all doing this because we love it. I think
Yeah.
that's just one of the coolest blessings about getting to be an actor. um, and I think that ties in with Dovey. He's always trying to do the right thing. He's al-
Yeah.
he's very he's definitely not selfish. Very selfless guy, maybe to a fault at times.
Yep.
Um, but also, I think that's what's so beautiful and cool about him too. Like I always would say to James that to me, for Dovey, it's almost a little bit of a sad story because
Mm,
I would I think he's the perfect friend at the beginning, and
yeah.
it's people that take advantage of him that unfortunately he has to create this like a bit of a skin and a shell and start not taking people for face value. He's a little more guarded by the end, but that's kind of sad. If only people could have not taken advantage of him. What a beautiful guy to have as your buddy and your cellmate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I find myself in relatable moments, and I won't give anything away, but I absolutely was engaged with the character the entire time. Something funny, I think, when I was kind of getting my prep together, I think the first question I put was, yeah, your dialect coach. Talk to me about working the accent here.
Yeah, sure, man.
Nailed it, dude.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I have a lot of fun playing with voices. I drive my wife insane actually because I'm always doing weird voices. I just, since I was a kid, have really enjoyed playing with voices,
Yeah,
and then playing with where it sits for different characters. I have a lot of fun with,
yeah,
just
yeah,
figuring out where does this person's energy and everything sit for them. So then where do they speak from? Because that creates different sounds.
yeah, yeah.
um, and then just listening to other people over and over, going to regions. I like to like I went and hung out in Alabama for quite a while before I shot Breakwater, back because I went back to the gym where I trained for Embattled.
Yeah.
um, just went down there and I just wanted those guys to put me through an intense like 2-3 weeks just to get me in the zone ready to film, but also just hang out there, going to different restaurants, sitting by myself, ordering.
Hmm.
And I try and stay in his voice, try and stay in his temperament too, because it was fun just to be in a different place where people didn't know me and see how they would what did they give back to Dovey. It was neat to play around with that. And of course, my wife's from Alabama, so I always run by the Southern sounds to her. Well,
That's
we
a
met
that's
during in battle, actually. By the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. She saw your shirt off and she was like, "Yeah, that's the one right there." And you was like, "All right, just wait. I'm gonna do that every other project I'm into. Gotta keep the lady happy, right?"
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
I definitely want to ask you and two questions before we wrap up here. Again, and I said it now, probably the third time here, is that as a fan of you and what you do on screen, because you're a fantastic actor, and just seeing somebody really, as you mentioned, work your way up on the call sheets and taking bigger roles and really transforming yourself from character to character. None of these characters are the same to me at all. So that's a testament to what good acting is. But as somebody who's a fan of you personally, is because you always talk about energy and how important that is, and then kind of hearing you talk about the culture you set on set and making sure that everybody's having a good time. I want to turn it over to you to give a moment to shed the light and also give flowers to your other cast members that you work with in this project. And I also just want to set the table by saying that, folks, when we talk about independent filmmaking, there's folks that go broke in doing this, and some people get grants, and some people get all sorts of different things, but it's still a measure of a hard work to get this off the table before it gets to our screen, and even before it even gets to our screen, it's the unpredictability of how do we get folks to watch it. There's so many other little steps that a lot of folks take for granted in terms of somebody having an idea of wanting to put together a film to us as the viewers seeing it for enjoyment. So I'm very passionate about it because you hear from these folks who we mentioned passion projects, but dump their whole bank account out just to hope that somebody may want to watch it, and or there's distribution or it gets a theatrical run, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I make sure for a fact I let you all know what the film is and where you can see it, and definitely go to support it. But for you, again, fighting that same crusade and always talking about energy and the folks involved, a moment for you to provide flowers and shed the light and love to your other folks that worked on this film.
Yeah, I mean, we were real fortunate, because you need not only your large players to show up, but you need the whole squad to show up. And we were real lucky that all our supporting cast did an amazing job putting together great, interesting characters, and they did a great job at it too in their delivery. Alyssa Goss, I had so much fun working with her. She's become like such a good friend of mine now. She's so cool, so easy to work with. Like,
Yeah.
between her and Dermot, I was set up so well with two people that were both great actors, but also great people. And that's so
Yeah.
cool. Can't ask
Yeah.
for more than that. And then, JD Evermore, legend from the South.
Legend.
This
Yeah.
man has been in, so many large, huge films, from Django and all sorts. Everything that comes down there, he's in it.
Yep.
And it was neat getting to work with him. He's such a pro, and he's such a nice guy too.
Yeah.
I hear myself talking, and I'm like, damn, we were lucky on that film. Everybody was cool and
Yeah.
good, and
Yeah.
that's what's up. Sonia Son came in, she was awesome, did her thing. Mina Savari comes in, that was neat to get to do scenes with her. Super cool, another powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we were just so fortunate, man, and I so appreciate all of them because takes what we were talking about energy, and what's coming off of them is bounces back and forth, so we need each other. So this is a real we're real blessed on Breakwater that everything really came together nicely, and I think thank God for that.
Yep. And thus you have a polished project that everybody got to go out and support. Final question for you for the day. I'll be remiss if I didn't ask what you may be able to talk about that is coming down the pipeline. There is a very interesting credit on IMDb. That is. Let me make sure I read this correctly, really quick. Untitled HBO limited series, and also and on the 8th day. So I'm going to definitely plead the fifth for you on the HBO one, because with them saying it's untitled.
I don't know who put that on there actually.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, well, there
But
we
I
go.
think
We ended that. Yeah,
and on the 8th day, though, I am stoked to see this, man. I'm stoked to see it on the 8th day. We just wrapped that up in New Mexico in
yeah,
June,
yeah.
and man, maybe the most fun I've ever had playing around with a character ever. And that's saying a lot.
Wow.
I've been blessed to have such a great time with all these different characters. But
Yeah.
this one coming up, he's just Mr. Elvis. He's a fun man to get into, and hopefully I'll have some news of where you'll be able to catch that soon enough. I know they just finished post production, so we should know something soon. And then obviously we'll be going back to season 2 of 1923 as well coming up.
Awesome. Well, you already know the deal. The seat at the table here is always open for you, and we will definitely have to reconvene to talk about those upcoming projects. But in the meantime, folks, go check out Breakwater in theaters on demand December 22nd. Darren, it's been a pleasure. Finally, long overdue. We'll talk very soon. You know, if you need anything, I'm here for you. But I truly appreciate your time today.
Hey, man. And I just want to say it again. Thank you. Thank you for your kind reviews. And thank you for pushing independent film. That's so cool, man. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all so much for checking out this interview. Jump in the comments. You can keep up with Darren. His information is in the description below. You can also find a link to the film and where you can get tickets to the film below. But until next time, we'll catch you back here at Big O Belt Media for more reviews and content very soon.